So we're going to have some speeches today, and then we're going to ask you to make some noise, and then we're going to take some photos, and then you're all going to go home. You can't go home until after the speeches.
Go to the pub!
Actually, there's a lot of police officers here. Can't see without the glasses. I'm not sure I can. Right. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Richard for everything he's done and for giving us all the chance to be here today. Right. Well, in the last week or so, at the LGBT Magpies launch, and also at a quiz that I run in a hard town that's pretty hard to be trans, the one question I've been asked is, why do we need an international day against homophobia, biphobia and transphobia? Well, to me, the answer to that is, I've got it all written down. While people are being murdered just because of who they are, 1,500 people in the last 6 years have been murdered just because they're trans. While people are committing suicide because of who they are. Over 48% of young people under the age of 26 have attempted suicide. While people are being kicked out of their homes or out of their jobs just for being trans. And while people are being rejected by their parents and other members of their families just because they're trans. While this sort of thing is happening, we need an international day against homophobia, biphobia and transphobia. It's not us that need to change, it's society that needs to change. Because, baby, we were born this way. Thank you.
I've got more words than that. I hope you don't get bored. I'm going to try and be interesting. Thanks, everyone, for giving me this opportunity. Of course, I can't represent all the diversity of bi people. Some of us are disabled, some of us are people of colour, some of us are refugees or homeless or living in poverty. Some of us are young teens, some of us are survivors, some of us are trans, and so on. I'm one of the more privileged people. I realise how lucky I am. I want to do something useful with these few minutes. I want to talk about recognising bi erasure. I want to give you 3 reasons why it matters, and 3 reasons why, 3 ways that it plays out, and how we can do something about it. The first reason that bi erasure matters is that in this world, queer people need communities. We need to be able to find our communities, and we need to feel welcome when we get there. I remember about 15 or 20 years ago, sitting in the alley cafe, that just cut out a second, sitting in the alley cafe, chatting with a bi woman who was older than me, and her telling me a story. At one time, she had called switchboard for support, and the person who answered the phone, instead of listening for what support she needed, had spent the time trying to convince her that she was a lesbian. She didn't call again. The second reason that it matters is that human beings need to see ourselves reflected in the world around us. Human beings need role models, or as Laverne Cox puts it, possibility models. And the third reason it matters is it doesn't make sense to try and limit our liberation movement to only the people who've signed up for 100% gayness. Bi people were leaders in the early days of gay liberation. Queer is not the same as purely gay. Next, practical ways that bi-erasure happens, both in mainstream culture and, strangely often, from lesbian and gay people. It was Kenji Yoshino who came up with this idea of the 3 layers of it. Layer 1 of bi-erasure is erasing the whole idea. Erasure. Erasing the whole idea. Bisexuality doesn't exist. There's no such thing. People do actually say that. But what's more common is just to leave out the word and leave out the idea. Gay or straight, gay or straight. Lesbian and gay, lesbian and gay. All those times when someone decides that bi isn't important enough to mention. So that's layer 1 we can look out for, erasing the whole idea. Layer 2 of bi-erasure is about individual bi people being pushed to call ourselves either gay or straight, or misrepresented as gay or straight. Often when we come out, instead of "Congratulations, good for you," or "Thanks for trusting me," we get disbelief and cross-examination. Don't you think you're just a bit confused? It's probably a phase. Have you tried sex with a man? Have you tried sex with a woman? Have you tried not listening to your own feelings and instead letting someone else tell you what your real sexuality is? But despite all that, some of us still think to ourselves, well, the truth is, I'm not 100% straight and I'm not 100% gay either, so bi seems like a reasonable label. And then layer 3 of bi-erasure is the put-downs. It's a cop-out, you're sitting on the fence, you're immature, bi now, gay later, you're flip-flopping, you're confused, it's all about sex, you spread disease. On their own, those put-downs are not exactly erasure, they're stigma. But hearing put-downs and abuse and snarky jokes is part of the pressure not to call yourself bi, not to be out, not to accept yourself. I'm not saying that anti-bi prejudice is bigger than the prejudice against same-sex relationships and attractions. What I'm saying is that some people are dealing with both, and it doesn't help. I've got a quote. It's from the mother of a young bi girl from Iowa in the United States. Alyssa Morgan was 12 when she took her own life in April this year. She was depressed. She was out as bi, and her mum believes that her suicide was related to anti-bisexual bullying at school. This is what her mother said. When you have other people telling you that you're not worthy of anything, or that being bisexual is wrong, or somehow disgusting, they're going to take that into thought, that maybe I wasn't right for this world. So how can we undo bi-erasure and bi-stigma? Say the word bi. Don't play the judge about other people's sexuality. If you're doing something that's meant to be LGB or LGBT, make the B more than a token. Even if you're not bi, find out about the local bi scene. Take our flyers, put them in your workplace or in your home, for the sake of your bi friends and family and colleagues who don't know yet where to find people like them, or don't know what kind of response they'd get if they came out to you. I think we've got some flyers here for BiCon, have we? Yeah, we have. That's a bi-themed gathering, a few hundred people somewhere in the UK every year. August of 2015, it's coming to Nottingham. You can also meet us at the Lord Roberts pub near Broadway Cinema once a month, second Thursday in the month. Or read our blog online for other events. You can do a search on Bi Nottingham. And next time you hear bi now, gay later, remember that for some people it's been bi all along, and for some it's been gay now, bi later. Thanks for listening.
Is it still on? Yeah, hi. and thanks to everybody for gathering today. So, have you ever felt too afraid to walk down the street, to go to the doctor, to go to school, go for a job interview, or even to go to a public toilet for fear, not of germs, but of being shouted at and thrown out before you even get to pee? Have you ever felt threatened by your family while you were growing up, just for trying to be yourself? A high proportion of trans people still feel this fear almost everywhere they go. Have you been banned from a shopping centre? Have you been burned on a bus? Or would you expect to be violently attacked for being too feminine and daring to wear a skirt? Have you been beaten, raped, or would you expect to be attacked for looking too masculine? Across England and Wales, in 2013-2014, there were 555 reported cases of hate crimes against trans people. People of colour and disabled trans people and others suffer even greater discrimination and marginalisation. Have you ever attempted suicide, as we've heard already, because of the stress of reading about the fate of your peers, or because of persistent online bullying? Many trans people have. Discrimination is alive and well for trans people, sometimes even from within the LGBT community, despite the fact that many of us either started or ended up in that same community after transition. My partner and I got excited at that, didn't I? Haven't ever left the community, but we simply transitioned within it. We used to identify as lesbians. We now identify as bisexual trans folk. I'm a trans man and my partner's non-binary. Our communities are indivisible. Today, May the 17th, commemorates the World Health Organization's declassification of homosexuality as a mental disorder, which was 25 years ago. Gender dysphoria, on the other hand, still has a mental health classification. However, this is a physical issue, not a psychological one, and any mental ill health that trans people experience is as a result not of being trans, but of other issues such as societal stigma, trauma, oppression, and lack of social support. Sometimes that lack of support happens within the services that are supposed to help and protect us, and our needs can sometimes be poorly understood. Trans people need to be included and listened to. We need you to hear our stories and issues. We need safer spaces. To support us and find out more about our community in Nottingham, please visit the Notts Trans Hub website, where you can see the safer space guidelines, which are put together by members of the community, and you can sign up to the monthly bulletin. You can also come to QT Notts, which is a Facebook group and email list, where we encourage gay people and trans people to all kind of get together, get to know each other, destigmatise each other, and bi people and anyone else outside of heteronormality, as it were. Anyway, thank you very much for letting me speak today, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Max Biddulph. I'm chair of the University of Nottingham LGBTQ Staff Network. Big thank you as well for inviting me along. I'm going to talk about 3 snapshots I'd like to offer you about the experience of gay men. And those 3 kind of focus on things that are happening internationally, nationally, and locally. Before I kind of say what I'd like to say about the international implications, I think there's a couple of things I want to just preface it with. Firstly, that I do think this is a really sensitive territory, talking about things that are outside of our culture here in the West. And I stand before you as a white gay man in a Western country. And, you know, I can see that it'd be really easy to position ourselves as the progressive society when it comes to LGBT rights and so on. And I think to do it uncritically without looking at what's happening in our own backyard would be a mistake. And we've also, as already been referred to, there's actually quite a history of very unfortunate things being said from a colonialist and somewhat racist point of view. That said, it feels to me like it's really important to take a reality check on an international day like this one. And on Wednesday of last week, in advance of today, the International Lesbian and Gay Association in Geneva put on the internet the 10th report into state-sponsored homophobia, which is basically a world survey of laws, criminalization, and things that are happening in relation to LGBT issues. And when you look at what's happening internationally, what stands out is the fact that there are still 76 countries in the world where it's actually a criminal offence to identify as gay. And within those, there are 5 or 6 countries which are still executing people because of their sexuality. So gay men in Mauritania, Sudan, Iran, Saudi Arabia and Yemen, as well as parts of Nigeria and Somalia, have been executed for their sexuality. And I guess possibly one of the most disturbing and extreme aspects of that are things that have happened in Mosul, in northern Iraq, in the last 3 months actually, where gay men have been executed by being thrown off the top of 6-story buildings. In Iran, the way that gay men's sexuality is being kind of dealt with, given that it's an offence, is that they're being pushed by the system to undertake involuntary gender reassignment surgery. So the way that that issue is kind of problematized is that it's seen as something that needs sorting out by becoming a person of the different gender. And of course, as we all know, that in Nigeria and in Uganda, there's a whole kind of movement there, which is actually fueled by, I think, well, I can tell you, given the fact that in our staff network LGBT History Month talk from BC Alimi, who's a Nigerian gay rights activist, he alerted us to the fact that actually there are some North American evangelical type people who are really kind of fueling the very homophobic sentiments that you experience there. Nationally, in the UK, there's a particular issue I'd like to draw to your attention, which really needs sorting out, and that's the state of our sex and relationships education in school settings. And young gay men in that situation are often being denied, together with LGBT people and the mainstream, effective, accurate information about HIV and safer sex and so on. The sticking point is that actually sex and relationships education does not have statutory status, which means that it's kind of done in a voluntary sort of way. And whilst most schools do it, a lot of schools or some schools are choosing not to by reintroducing Section 28 style kind of clauses to prevent the actual teaching of effective HIV education. And whilst ultimately I believe what we all have to do is take responsibility for our own sexual behaviour, it's not possible to do that unless you have informed choices. So this really is a kind of situation that needs sorting out. Finally, my last snapshot refers to local things in relation to gay men's experience. And having worked in conjunction with Nottingham citizens, I can report that from the hate crime research that we launched at Nottingham Trent University in October 2014, that actually what still stands out is that LGBT people generally, and gay men in particular, are on the receiving end of different forms of hate crime, whether it's verbal abuse on the street, whether it's vigilante-style attacks on gay men in cruising areas, or whether it's people getting a bunch of fives basically out on a Saturday night in supposedly a gay venue. So what? So what are the implications of all of this? I think what I'd like to say is that the way forward must be continued activism. And going back to the ILGA report I was referring to when I started speaking, in the 10 years that they've been producing the state-sponsored homophobia report, actually the numbers of countries that where this is criminalized has decreased from 96 to 76. So there is progress. That said, there's still a long way to go. I think a message I'd like to give to the rest of the world is we need to be united on this front, and we need our straight allies as well as individual groups within the LGBT community. And as far as gay men are concerned, what I'd urge the rest of the world to do is to just, go beyond the stereotype, see us as complex, as interesting people, love our queeniness, our bear culture, our twinkiness, our transness, welcome kink as well as vanilla identities. Yes, thank you. Realise that actually we don't just walk around IKEA holding hands trying to be beautiful, that we do occupy many different roles. Some of us are fathers, and very proud fathers at that. Some of us are uncles and granddads. Some of us mend motorways, as well as doing interior design and serving drinks on your Ryanair flight to Berlin-Schönefeld. And actually, one final thing I'd like to say to my brothers who are gay men, I think we have to go beyond our internalized homophobia. I think we have to reclaim our self-esteem. We have to reach out and get support. I'm a counsellor educator, and I can tell you there's a chronic lack of confidence in coming forward when it comes to gay men getting support. Finally, can I just say a massive thank you to Richard for organising this event. I've just found the whole thing just so emotional. Like on Friday in the university on the Trent building, we raised our rainbow flag. If you want something to do this afternoon, we're going to have a walk around University Park and just take a look at that fantastic flag on the Trent building. And this morning at 11 o'clock on the castle, seeing that flag go up was just amazing. Anyway, I hope you have a great day and thanks for listening.
Oh, what a crowd we have this afternoon. My name's Tanya Thomas. I'm the organiser of the Nottingham Invasion Group for the trans community. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights promises a world which everyone is born free and in rights, with no exceptions whatsoever, and no one left behind. But it's a completely hollow promise for many millions of transgender individuals who are forced to confront hatred, intolerance, violence, and widespread discrimination on a daily basis. We've all got the right to dignity and to live life free from violence and discrimination. Society must stand up and continually challenge harassment wherever it arises, and to ensure that every single one of us lives with dignity, to work and to have equality in law, to enjoy free movement and to have freedom of expression. But we all know that experience, that eradicating discrimination requires more than just changes in laws. It takes more changes in political policies. It takes a change in people's hearts and in their minds as well. So what is it to be transgender? Well, it's different for all of us. It's a wide, it's a varied, it's an infinite spectrum of identity. Whilst we may have been born as one gender, male, female, and may have lived for years in roles and adopted lifestyles that are as gender stereotyped as it could possibly ever get. We inwardly identify with another completely contrasting gender image. But many of us, however, choose not to maintain this identity. We seek to transition. But it is a complex, it is an inward fight with ourselves over the fundamental question of who we are, who we want to be, versus the consequences, the massive consequences of our own well-being, how we'll be treated, and the potential rejection of friends, colleagues, employers, and most importantly, our family and loved ones. But hopefully events like today will help to show that the transgender community is as valued, is as welcomed, and most importantly, as well supported in society as any other. And that we all must stand idly by in this. We all have a part to play, regardless of who we are, in the face of this discrimination and transphobia, and to beat it in wherever it may show its face. I'd like to finish quickly with a line from Nelson Mandela. He was a great believer in education being our best weapon against prejudice. He said, "People are not born hating one another. They learn to hate. And if people can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite." Thank you very much, and have a good day, everybody. Thank you.
Not that tall. Hi, my name's Pam Burrows. I live in Nottingham. But where were you in 1990? I was working in Manchester and I was living in Derby with a guy that I'd been with for 9 years. We were engaged for 9 years. There was a clue right there. Fast forward to 1991 and I was living in Nottingham, working in Nottingham, living in a lesbian housing cooperative. Yay! Up the Merrigan. But hang on, how did that happen? How did I make that transition? What happened along the way? Well, there were a number of things. One of the things that I had was an S for support. I also had a place to call home. This is going to be fun. I had a feeling of confidence and I had some good self-esteem. The other thing that I had was resources. There are so many LGBT people who need to come out, want to come out, feel that they need that transition in their lives, of whatever that transition is for them, and they don't have those things. They don't have support, they don't have the resources, and they may not even have a place to call home. So many LGBT people are made homeless, jobless, friendless, penniless, just through that transition of coming out. So let's fast forward again 25 years to today. I live in Nottingham, I run my own business, I have a fantastically welcoming and supportive family. I have a lot of good things in my life. Cats, of course. You've got to have cats. And a fantastic, wonderful, fabulous, gorgeous girlfriend who's just over there. She told me to say that. And I feel blessed, and I feel very lucky. But it shouldn't be about luck. It should be about resources and support. It should be about understanding. It should be a situation in our society and across the world where we all feel safer, where we feel safe, we feel safe to live the life that we want to live, that we have a right to live safely, we have a right to live happily, and we have a right to live the life we choose to be our truest selves. Thank you. We're very lucky in the UK to have the laws that we do and the support that we do. There's lots more needs to be done, but we're very lucky. We are exceedingly lucky in Nottinghamshire to have allies like the person I'm now going to introduce. Because it's not about getting angry with the world that makes change happen. It's about partnerships and allies with people who can make a difference. I'm now going to introduce you to the Deputy Chief Constable, Sue Fish, who is a very special and important ally for Nottinghamshire LGBT people. Give her a big round of applause.
Thanks very much indeed for such a warm introduction. It is fantastic to be here today, and a huge thank you to Richard for all his hard work, not just for making today happen, but for all the events earlier in the week as well that I was privileged to take part of. So a big round of applause again, I think, for Richard. I could sit here today, or stand here today, and say, actually, coordinating with Idaho Day, Nottinghamshire Police have launched their hate campaign, which features tremendous visuals that you'll see on buses and trams in our determination to rid Nottinghamshire of hate crime. I could talk about the fact that next month we build on the success that we've had in building stronger relationships with the LGBT community here in the city, with the launch of an independent advisory group to the police in the county. And I can tell you about the fact that I'm the Chief Officer Champion for LGBT issues in Nottinghamshire Police. And I can talk to you about our determination to really make Nottinghamshire a safer place so that people can be who and what they are safely and with confidence and enjoy life to the full. But actually what struck home to me this morning, as it did on Monday when we raised the flag at County Hall and we raised the flag at Nottinghamshire Police Headquarters, is the honesty about in the way in which you live your lives as part of the LGBT community here in Nottinghamshire, and what you need from your police to help you do that. Because it's all well and good having laws, but if you don't have the understanding, the insight and the confidence of your police to help to keep you safe, help you to live your life as you should and you must, then we're a worse place. And I have to say, I'm absolutely determined that we will be the best police force, offering you the best service and the best support, and I'm absolutely unequivocal about that. I had a moment this morning when I was driving in thinking, I wonder how many people will be here today, and I went up to the castle to start the streaming bit, and other than misleading a group of young people that they were starting from the same place as me, so apologies for that. Don't always believe what a police officer says clearly when they're offering directions. And I'm so thrilled on behalf of the LGBT communities here that there are so many people supporting today's event. It is so important, not just if you're LGBT, but if you're straight, that it's about understanding and responding and believing in who and what you are, and you can do that anytime, I think, and there's something other than an advert well said. But I've been really humbled to listen to what people have said today, standing up here, listening to their experiences. Is it gone? No. Listening to their experiences. And, yeah, keep going. Anyway, I've been really humbled to hear what you've had to say, and thank you for sharing your stories and your experiences. It'll help me to be a better person and a better police officer, and I know many of my colleagues who are gathered in the crowd as well. They will have gained really important insight to help you in the future. So thank you very much indeed.
So that concludes our Idaho Day event for today. We will be back next year. I wasn't sure, but now I've seen what you can do. I'm going to come and make you do it all over again. Thank you, all of you. Back to where you work, go back to where you live. Be out, be proud, be gorgeous. Thank you.